Hello and welcome to episode 215 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're your source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right, just a couple of regular guys drinking some irregular beers, talking about Magic the Gathering. In particular, the online client MTG Arena.
That's right, and this episode is one of my favorites, Jeff. We are doing our first sips episode of Avatar the Last Airbender. So it's our first sips or our first thoughts of the new set that just came out this week. But first, each week we bring a beer, we drink it, we rate it on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. So with that, Jeff, what is on tap?
Okay, I'm suddenly wishing I looked up the pronunciation of this beforehand, but we have a beer called Draytil. This is labeled an NZ Pilsner, which I'm assuming means New Zealand style.
Something like that.
But this is from a brewery, Malbig, in Iceland. So, a little background on that. My brother, his latest venture is that he went to school basically to be like, he studied trees and like forests and how, to safely sort of build tree populations and scalp them and stuff. And so, like, he went to school for forestry. And part of that, he did a program in Iceland where he went to Iceland for, I think, 2 weeks and planted trees, basically. But, like, also he had to go in and prune all these trees and stuff, like, basically helping them develop forestry out there. And it was still quite nascent, he was saying. Like, some of these trees were basically brand new, and then he was in open fields, literally just, like, planting trees. And he loved it. He had the best time. Was just talking about going back and living there now. But he did know that we'd like to do some fun beers on the show. So he went to a local brewery and picked us up some stuff and brought it back for us. So this is from Iceland. Wow. This is a Pilsner. And I don't know what to expect. I've been to Iceland, actually, in 2015 with my brother and my family. But we didn't try this brewery. Like, we kind of went to Reykjavik, like the big city there that people go to, and he was obviously kind of not really in the city because he was planting trees. So he was more remote, and so he went to basically a different area of Iceland than we went to originally.
Well, sweet. So this is very hard to come by, we might say.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Very special one. I love the can. This is so cool.
Yes, the art is beautiful on this. And just reminds me of that kind of like simple design sensibility that Nordic countries are kind of known for.
Yeah, and we also love.
Yes.
We do seem to be drawn to cans that look a little like this. So awesome. Let's crack this open and let's see how it tastes. Oh. Heck yeah,
mine's exploding.
buddy.
Is yours exploding?
Mine is also exploding. Just a little bit. Not too bad. Not too bad.
It's from the plane ride.
Yeah, that's true. It has ventured. Ooh, and I may have screwed up the pour just a little bit, so we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait.
You did better than me.
Okay. All right. With that, we have some magic news. Avatar: The Last Airbender. The MTG set is now on Arena. Really exciting. Feels like we're coming back to Magic in a weird way, even though this is like a Universe Beyond set. But like the kind of hell that has been this fall of like standard VV just terror, and then also like Spider-Man trash is just over. It feels great.
It's a tough time.
Yeah, it's really tough. So feels very awesome. I'm very excited. And well, I'm excited to get into the set and like be able to talk about little nitty gritty stuff. But I did want to mention the Arena Direct for Avatar the Last Airbender is coming up soon, November 28th to December 1st. You get to win an Avatar collector booster box, which are, that's a pretty nice prize. Those were like I think most like the MSRP is like 450 USD, but I think they're actually selling for like 520 or like 600. So that's pretty nice. Whether you can offload it or try to open one of those like neon battle pose versions of the characters, which are like thousands of dollars. So it seems pretty sweet. Always excited for those. But Jeff, something even more exciting. We knew a little bit about this new tournament that's coming out next year, or it's going to be in like 2026, 2027. They're doing something called the Magic Limited Championship. So this is a type of tournament that the way they were kind of bringing it about kind of felt like Worlds, but for limited in a way. Obviously, you don't have to go through the Pro Tour and all those types of things. There's a version of it, basically, but all limited tournament on the big stage. It's very exciting for Magic. The fact that they're putting all this emphasis on this is awesome. I'm really excited for that specifically.
Yeah, it's cool. It's something they've been sort of building towards, of like there are more and more sort of competitive limited tournaments you can partake in, especially online. Like, the Arena Opens have been and they even mentioned like the Arena Open is sort of evolving into this in a way. Instead of just playing for cash, you're playing for cash, and potentially you could enter into this tournament as well to play for even more cash.
Exactly.
So it's really awesome. Like, there are a ton of players who only play limited, right? And it's kind of sucks. Like, you try to play at the highest level, you qualify for like the Pro Tour, say, and then you're like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I guess I have to go and like try to learn Standard in a few weeks or months, depending on when you qualified. And it's not what you really enjoy the most either. So, obviously it would still be cool probably for a lot of people to go to the Pro Tour and do all that. But this, I think, would be more up a lot of people's alley and incentivize people to jump into these high stakes limited tournaments. And honestly, I think there's a lot of like card game competition these days. And one of the things of all the card games I've played, I always try the new one and be like, okay, this is cool. The one thing they can never touch is Magic's limited formats. There are some great games being developed that are awesome constructed formats, really fun, back and forth, a lot of play to them. I've never played one that could even hold a candle to Magic's limited formats. Like,
absolutely.
It always feels some sort of weird forced limited thing that they've come up with that's like, it's just not the same as draft, man. It's just not draft.
Yeah.
And
they really haven't figured that out, where it's like, there's a lot of games that have too many, like, specific types of factions, or your deck could only play certain types of cards. And because of the way that Magic is just built with the resource system, like, you just don't have cards that you strictly can't play. It might be a wrong decision to play it, but it's not illegal to put it in your deck, which a lot of these other games do have that. So, I don't know. It makes Magic great in that way. And it's that's my favorite way to play Magic, is limited. So this is very exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that has to offer. But the most exciting thing that's happening right now is that there are going to be Arena Limited Championship qualifiers. So basically, you go to the Arena Championship for Limited qualifier, then the Arena Limited Championship, and then you can move on to the Magic Limited Championship. But the coolest thing is that this is an event, like you were saying earlier, very similar to the Arena Opens, where you play on day one, you get your token for day two, you play in day two, and then maybe you can cash it. But that's like you play sealed, and then you play hopefully 2 drafts, and then if you do well enough, then you get to win like $2,000, and then also go to the Arena Championship. In this one, you don't have to have a day one and a day two structure, which is the thing we've hated the most about these tournaments in the past, right?
Yeah.
Where like, how many times, Jeff, have you like woken up on Sunday and been like, I missed the window to join? Crap.
Never.
right? Like that used to be a big joke on our podcast at the very beginning when we were like, it just kept being a thing where it's like our number one rule is set a alarm so you can play in it.
But even like today, the thing is, with my family, it's so hard to be like, hey, I got to take all of Saturday and hopefully all of Sunday. And then with you, you're always working on the weekends because
exactly.
So it's just like,
so like
when are we supposed to play in these things?
Exactly, the timing does not work for us, and I think there's a lot of people out there who are also like, man, those arena championships seem so, the arena opens seem so sweet, but I can't really play in them because the time commitment is so intense. And we've been kind of saying that the arena direct events, the win a box stuff, has been our like substitute. We're like, you can play that as many times as you want. The stakes are still
Friday
there.
Friday night, Saturday night after the family's gone to bed or after work or whatever. So like, that's really nice. And this event, this arena limited championship qualifier, is exactly like that. Except for you still have to do 2 events. So basically you have 2 drafts that you have to play in. First of all, this is a draft event, which is nice because usually we're playing sealed, right? Yeah. So the box event, the arena direct stuff, that's all sealed. Day 1 of the arena opens is also sealed. So these are 2 drafts. You play in the first draft, and if you get to 7 wins, you get a token for the second draft. And then if you win that, then you get to win the $2,000 and the Arena Limited Championship entry token, which is obviously the big tournament. That's what you'd like to be a part of, to then qualify you for the biggest one. But this is so cool. You can enter as many times as you want. There's no time restriction besides like just the weekend. And I don't know, it feels like a win for everybody. Like the timing is easier for all the players. Wizards is going to make a ton of money off of this because you can join as many times as you want. So like, yes, they're giving away actual cash at the end, but like there's going to be so many people grinding it out just because it's going to be worth it. Yeah. I'm psyched for this because this is like, to me, it's like getting to play in Arena Opens again because I can't remember the last time I've been able to play in one. The other thing that we didn't even mention is that like you and I don't live in the time zone of Wizards, but we're fairly close. If anyone like is far, out east or something, overseas relative to the Wizards time zone, like it's so difficult for them to play in any of the event like the Arena Opens now because it's like Zach was saying, there's a specific window of time which is in the morning in Pacific time or whatever that you have to sign up. So for us it's like 11 something, I think 6 to 9 on their time or something, so it's like for us it would be 9 to noon, something like that. But it's just very specific, and you can imagine if you live 8 to 12 hours away from that time zone, that now you have to play at a very inconvenient time if you want to play at all. So
Japanese players in the middle of the night, stuff like that. So I don't know, I think this is huge. I'm very excited for it. It's expensive, like all these tournaments are. 25,000 gems, or sorry, 25,000 gold, or 5,000 gems.
Holy crap, that's more expensive than I was expecting.
But they're both best of 1 drafts as well.
That's the other thing I was going to bring up, because I haven't played in the Arena Open for a while, but the Arena Open was best of 3, right?
Yes. And so
I love the change to best of 1.
I do too, because this is like more people are playing best of 1, like limited Magic. I think limited Magic is, the final tournament is best of 3, so we're not getting rid of best of 3 altogether. But the qualifier is best of 1, and it incentivizes you to like, I need a reason to play best of 3 as far as like limited goes, because there's no real incentive on Arena. Like it's not ranked on Arena. The price structure is more brutal, and it's just like there's just no real reason.
And I honestly
the gameplay
think
isn't that much better.
Sideboarding adds a lot to Constructed. I think it adds a ton.
So much.
To the point where like you've seen how the metagame gets completely warped by having no sideboarding. It's a completely different metagame. And maybe, it's just my boomer mentality or what I grew up on, but to me that it's part of what makes I would just never play best of 1 standard really, because it's not a game I enjoy as much. For limited, I don't find that to be the case, really. Like, sideboarding in limited there is strategy to it, and it does change your drafting, but it's no, like, the breakdown of how impactful it is. Maybe it's like a good sideboarder will really increase your odds of winning in standard by a huge percentage. In limited, it's not like that, really. Its impact on the game is just less, and
Totally.
the game is less about that. And I think just acknowledging that, sort of, Wizards has kind of landed on the right thing, which is like, limited is awesome as a best of one format because people kind of want to get to the next draft. It's like, yeah, I did it. This deck, I kicked ass. Now I want to do another draft, and standard is like, best of three irons out the whole feel bads of like, well, my opponent had the nut draw and there was nothing I could do about it. But, so it just kind of, to me, maybe it's just bias because it's where I've landed, but best of one limited is the most fun way to play limited, in my opinion, and best of three constructed is the most fun way to play constructed.
Yeah, which
I like
as well.
The sort of acknowledgement here that, like, hey, we know people like best of one limited. We know that that's what everyone plays, and to your point, like, it's super hard to practice for a best of three limited event on Arena, because if you play in those events, you often get complete beginners, or you just, like, the quality of your matches is so varied because so few people play it that it's hard to practice for an Arena event on Arena, which shouldn't be the case. And so this kind of solves that.
I absolutely agree with all your points. It's great. So it also has the same kind of structure where it's like first to 7 wins or 2 losses. So the 2 losses is pretty brutal. So just keep that in mind when you're joining this. You really are on, like, you can give 1 loss to, like, Mana Screw or whatever. So just be prepared for that. Feels bad. And if you look at the, like, draft 1 rewards, it is, the gravy train's at 6 wins, and it's a huge jump between 5 and 6 wins. That's pretty, like, you double your gems from 2,500 to your starting gem, like, what is it, payment. So I do think that this would probably be the best to try to use gold for. Like, most of the time we tell you to play, like, use your gold to make gems, but, like, 2,500 gold is not the same as 5,000 gems. And so I think this will be a great way to, like, save up gold if you happen to have it. But sorry, what I was really trying to say is that once you get to the second draft, that is where they start to pay you off with all your stuff. So you really are pushing for that one. And if you don't cash it by making the $2,000, you at least fall into, like, getting another entry fee to play. Like, as long as you get 1 win, you can keep going. So it incentivizes you to keep getting there and keep trying and keep doing it. So I don't know. This is super cool. I'm very excited for this. I'm definitely going to be playing in them. So.
Yeah, I'm excited to try this too. Just looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. So this doesn't start until next year, 2026. But you better believe we are getting ready for it. But anyway,
I think
Jeff,
I saw somewhere in that article there's going to be 4 of them. Is that what they said? So, like, kind of one per big set? I don't know. I was surprised to see the number 4. But
I was going to say, we have 7 sets. One of them is small, at least. So it would be like 6 sets. I don't remember seeing the number 4, but you could be right.
I remember seeing, for some reason, I remember reading that and being like, what? I would have expected, like, 1%, basically. But.
Yeah. They probably will coincide with the, like, pro tours. That would make a lot of sense. So you do the same types of stuff.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah. With that,
the other question I have is, like, is the
sets.
Arena Championship going to become, like, the Arena Constructed Championship? Or whatever, like the...
Maybe.
The tournament that we knew before that you usually had to qualify through. It's generally constructed, but occasionally limited. Like, are we just going to split those out and make 2 separate Arena Championships? Or is there going to be one that's, like, kind of hybrid and then one that's all limited? That'd be weird.
I mean, that also is asking the same question about, like, the Pro Tour. I doubt they're going to change the Pro Tour because it's just too good. So this will be more of, like, for very specialized limited people that only want to watch that, because I think on the Pro Tour, majority of the time people like watching the draft portion, but they don't like watching the game portion, which I am not one of those people. I really like watching the games of the limited format, but I have heard that from a lot of people where they just kind of tune out and just wait for constructed. So we'll have to see.
So
I don't think
like just watching the draft, but then not watching the games of the deck that was drafted. So
there is a thing where people feel like drafting is the most difficult part, and then playing the games, like, oh yeah, well you just play the game. Like
the deck just plays itself.
That there is a feeling of that with some people. I don't know if you've run
probably
into this,
because they haven't watched enough pro players play limited Magic because they keep skipping it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, because they feel like it's just too many, all the stuff that we really like, where it's like, what are they going to do with these 2/3s? How are they going to win?
Yeah, I was about to say that. Like, they haven't seen Reed Duke win with a bunch of 2/3s.
Yeah.
And then ask themselves, would I have won that game?
Would I have won that game? No, definitely not. So, but anyway, very, very exciting. I'm looking forward to that in the new year. More ways to play competitive Magic. Super cool. More ways to get new people into competitive Magic. I still consider myself new to competitive Magic, but I like to follow along and keep up with it. But Jeff, we're not really here to talk about just competitive Magic. We are here to talk about the new set, Magic the Gathering, Avatar the Last Airbender. It is out. Have you been able to play yet?
I did one draft.
Amazing.
I went 6-3. So I played as many games as you can play, because I lost at the 6-2 mark to going for gold there. I think we usually start this out by saying, how does the set feel? Like, does it kind of match our expectations? They promised me a space opera. Did I get that from the set or whatever? So totally. I think for this, you are the best one to answer this question because you've watched the show. And I have not. Yes. So I'm like, this set feels like a Magic set that references a show I haven't seen.
Which, like, how does that feel to you? Is it like on a scale from like 1 to Final Fantasy?
Yeah, but I played some Final Fantasy, right? So I think this is maybe the first time where I have almost zero overlap with it. Like, even D&D, I have friends who play D&D and stuff.
Lord of the Rings, Spider-Man.
Lord of the Rings, I've seen that. Spider-Man, my son watches it. So this is maybe the first time where I'm like, I have literally, like, I know people who like Avatar and who try to convince me to watch Avatar. But I know I haven't seen even a minute of the show. I only kind of know what it's about. I've learned a lot more about what it's about, I think, from it being a Magic set and you explaining it to me. So, but honestly, I just felt like I was playing Magic. Like, I was playing limited Magic, and like, maybe they've been prepping me for it with an art style that maybe would have felt weirder, like 3 years ago or whatever, because it's a little more sort of anime kind of stuff. But they've been giving that to us in smaller doses for a while. So
I don't know if it's even smaller, but they have primed us for this. Like, even with, we've talked about this before.
Originally alternate art, there was all these Japanese art versions of stuff, or like anime versions of stuff, and now it's like, this is basically an anime set in terms of the art, and I don't know, it doesn't feel that out of place.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem as, like, I think that if I saw a card that had more like Sailor Moon vibes, or like, Dragon Ball Z, it would feel more strange. But because this show still feels like it's so grounded in, like, I don't know, fantasy world things with people being able to control elements, but it's not like energy and spirit bombs or like magic powers, really. I don't know, there's something that still feels like it connects to the original stuff to me in this, where there's
it still
like
has
real
4
world
elements
influences
that map pretty well to Magic colors, and then black is just like the color that doesn't have any of those.
Totally.
of those four things.
Yeah. But no, I think the set has been delivering quite well. I feel like all the games I've played were really interesting. What I think I like the most about this set is that like it feels like there's a lot of stuff you can do, but it doesn't feel like overly complicated. There was something about Edge of Eternities that felt like, there's a lot of stuff I can do, but it was extremely complicated. Where this feels a little bit more approachable, which I really like. And at the end of the day, it just has been feeling really fun to me. I don't know if that's just because I've been doing a good amount of winning this week, but
It's always correlated.
But it feels like, I figured this out. Okay, this is working the way that I wanted it to work, and it just like things are clicking in a way that I think Edge of Eternities always felt like it was just I was like swimming up against the current, or there's something grinding at it, and I just really didn't feel super clicked in, and like great about that set overall.
Yeah, Edge of Eternities is a weird one for me because I liked it, but did horribly. Like, it was one of the sets I did the worst at in recent memory, maybe even since we started doing this show, where I was just like, there's never been a set that I played this much of and lost. Like, the raw amount of losing I did in that set is gotta be an all-timer, because if I'm losing that much, I stop playing. And that one, I just didn't do that.
Kept going.
Just kept fucking losing. But we've talked about this before, right? Like, Magic itself has enough complexity that you don't need to juice it with fancy card designs. Like, Edge of Eternities threw a lot of different mechanics at you, and it was very in your face about how complex it is. But you don't actually need that, right? Like, we love Core Set Limited because you could just play a bunch of French vanilla creatures, and there's enough complexity built into the game that it's still super fun. And this is not a core set. I don't think anyone would say this feels like a core set because there's a bunch of new mechanics.
Of course.
But it's closer to that than Edge of Eternities by a long shot.
Definitely, right? Yeah. Which is probably what I already am excited and happy about with it.
And it's very combat-oriented as well.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's one main mechanic that is extremely combat-oriented. Firebending has been sweet. It's so cool. I love.
And I'd say earthbending is combat oriented as well, right? Because it's like
that's true, because it does make a creature,
creates creatures, and then airbending at least interacts with creatures, and then waterbending is not that. It's sort of it's not combat oriented.
It's not super combat oriented, but there are a good number of like vigilant creatures where you're like, okay, I'm going to attack, and then because I was able to airbend and I have these vigilant creatures and a clue token, I can also waterbend at the same time if I have to, or will help me with certain things, which has been pretty interesting. Which I already kind of like guessed at that. It does feel very obvious that like earthbending seems to be one of the most powerful of the bendings. Like, if you're going to choose one to be like, which is the best one for limited, I feel like earthbending is the way to go. It does what you want it to do. You make more creatures, and you can even make your one. It has like this cool thing where it acts as if it's like a token generator, but also an army at the same time. Where you're like, I can now choose between, do I want more creatures or one big creature, or a combination of both, or whatever you want to do. Especially, obviously you can earthbend over and over again. That has been luckily, Bossing Say has been a card that has popped up in my decks a few times, and boys, that land is sick. Being able to be like, either I'm making a chump blocker every turn, or I am creating a giant threat that you're going to have to deal with that dies and then just comes back because you don't have to worry about it ever actually leaving the battlefield forever. It's so sweet.
Yeah, earthbending is awesome. I think, so I did, like I said, the one draft. I basically played green-white allies, but I had the Bant Ang, and so I had good. Like a blue splash in there. And it felt pretty good. It's kind of funny, like, I was 6-2 and I was playing for the final round, but the 2 losses were also against green-white allies. So it was
Okay.
like I destroyed every non-green-white allies deck I played against, and I lost in some tight games to the two green-white allies mirror matches. So I was sitting there being like, is green-white allies just the way to go? But it didn't really feel like that. It just kind of felt like that's how things happened. But my deck didn't feel busted. I don't think I lost to busted decks. The first game I lost, though, this is my first very game of this format. And I had a huge board that I built out that was basically I'd put a bunch of tokens on a bunch of allies, and I had the ally lord, like the 2/4 green-white ally lord that pumps your allies. And so I had like 2 6/6s, you know, like a 5/5, a 5/4, and a 3. My opponent had like basically nothing. And I'm trying to find the card that they cast. Destined Confrontation.
Ah, yeah.
So it's 2 white for a sorcery. Each player chooses any number of creatures they control with total power 4 or less and sacks the rest. So after that, I had like 25-ish power, and I had to keep the Lord, the 2/4 vigilance. It had a counter on it, so it was a 3/5. Because everything else was 5 or more power on my board. It was like a 5/5, a 5/5, 2 6/6s.
Oh my god.
My opponent had 2 1-power creatures and a 2-power creature. So they sacked nothing.
Nothing. Oh my god.
And my opponent has a very low life total. And it was the classic moment of like, can't possibly lose this game. Because I had something in my hand too, so I was like, even if they wrath the board, I will still be on board. Like, I'll get my board presence down first and get ahead of it. And so I was like, what could they do? But I didn't anticipate Plague Wind. And so they blew up like 20-something power worth of stuff and lost nothing on their end for 4 mana, and then played something as well. And I was just like, oh, well, now I can't possibly win. It was like that classic, like, can't possibly lose to can't possibly win flip. And that was my very first game in this format. So just like,
yeah, that's also an uncommon, right?
I saw it in the draft. I was like, this card seems kind of bad because all my stuff is big. Like, why would I cast this?
Why would I cast this card? And man, because it's also interesting. That card's also like Destined Confrontation. Also works really well with your like Earthbended stuff because you're like, I am okay because I'm not losing cards on this. I still get the lands back. Man, that's brutal. I do think that card is really interesting, and I haven't seen it really go off yet. I think somebody cast it against me once, but I haven't cast it myself. But my
opponent had extremely low to the ground allies deck, so it was like that thing that whenever you play an ally, you earthbend, and like he was like 1, 2, 3 in me, and I ended up stabilizing and building this massive board, and then this came down to turn the tides. Really, but
oh my gosh,
I respected its inclusion in my opponent's deck because I was like, I haven't seen you play anything that has more than 2 power. But I remember when I was seeing it in the draft, I was like,
it's like, seems not for you.
Seems awful. I'm trying to make a bunch of big things. Why would I want this?
Yeah, which is makes for a great card. We're like, this is very situational. I really like it.
And then there was real quick when I was playing for 7. Very, very similar situation for the 7th win, where I was way ahead, and I was like, I feel like I got this. I even had a removal spell in hand, and I was like, okay, only a Wrath can beat me, and I don't think a Wrath alone does it. They would have to like Wrath me and then play something huge that my removal spell can't kill. And then they hit me with the Rise of Sozin, or whatever, which was indeed a Wrath that then turned into a creature that was too big for my removal spell to kill. So a single card was actually what I was like, they can't win. They would have to Wrath my board and then also have an awesome threat that I can't kill. And I would also have to like not draw anything relevant. But I didn't realize that just one card could do that. So
yeah, that's even the card that you talked about in spoilers that you're like, this card seems sick.
I know, but for some reason, like if it's a mythic rare, I assume that it's just not in the draft form. Just like
I do the same thing until my opponent played the Rise of Sozin against me, the following turn played The Legend of Roku, which is like a bomb mythic, the Red Saga. Then also played the Lion Turtle. Previously had also played Toph, the hard-headed, like the Gruul one, to make a bunch of like.
What is this?
And then
deck?
they also played Iroh, the Grand Lotus. So they're recasting all their like lessons from their graveyard, and it was just like,
That sounds pretty sick, though.
it really. I mean, I was in a commanding position, and then it was like Sozin into like mythic rare, and then every turn was like rare, more cards from my graveyard, more stuff, and I was like, this sucks.
Yeah,
but it was crazy. But it can happen. One thing I did want to say about the Rise of Sozin that I didn't realize when we were talking about it the other day is that it does say choose a card name. It doesn't say choose a non-land card name. So like in draft, if you want, you can name whatever you think their splash color is, or if they only happen to be like on a certain number of like whatever black sources or red sources, you could just guarantee yourself to be like, let's just rip some lands out of their deck. Whether that's going to be amazing or not will be very situational, but that middle clause of like choose a card name, search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for 4 copies of it. You know, there could be worse things to do than just randomly being, I don't know, lightning strike to try to pull all your lightning strikes out, or just a common that would probably be in your deck. It feels like a throwaway. It might be like, well, let's just make sure they can't cast double green cards. You know, that might be a situation that comes up. Or you might just take a bunch of lands out of their deck late game and then help them draw gas. So you don't know.
Yeah,
but
I think
I thought that was interesting.
I didn't realize that at all either, because they never do that, right? It's always not land. And it makes sense here because, first of all, you're only limited to 4. So
Exactly.
if you're ripping all of someone's lands out of their deck, they only have 4 to begin with, and they were all the same. Like, it's just, that's not really going to happen. And like you're saying, because this is a 6-drop, is ripping a land out of their deck even something you want to do at that point in the game?
Yeah,
Unless
it really
it's
depends.
like one of those like lands combo decks, like Thespian Stage kind of
It's true.
nonsense.
That's true.
Yeah, though, like how you getting a 6 dropout before you're dead against Lotus Field. But you know, like the only time you would choose a land is against sort of nonsense like that. So I'm kind of happy they included it as a possibility. Or against a control deck, you could, like, sometimes the land is their win con, and you could rip those out.
That's true. You know? That is true. And hopefully they just don't have anyone, like any of them on the battlefield. But really, really interesting that they're doing that. The other thing that I saw is that, like, in Standard, if your Earthbended card, like whatever card it happens to be, if your opponent casts, what's the card, like The End or whatever? It's like the 2 black, destroy creature, search their hand at library. That also could hit lands. It just doesn't happen to be a land very often, but you can rip out all the copies of that too. So and the reason I'm bringing this up is, like, I mean, you know, that does say all the copies, right? Doesn't it? Doesn't The End say like every copy of that card, or does it only say up to 4? I think it's just all of them. But I don't have it up in front of me at this second. So, like, you could... Yeah, it says any number of cards with the same name. So you can rip out all of their basic lands. Now,
gotta counter Relentless Rats somehow, man.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, exactly. That is true. It does get Relentless Rats. So either it's the same thing, you hit their Earthbended Forest, and then you can rip out all their forests. If they happen to be mono green, I think most people are playing 2 colors.
Though. If you Earthbend the forest and get The End in, like, how you can't even be mad.
You can't really be mad, but, like, there are some cards in Standard right now that are going to be doing a lot of Earthbending to forests. So
it's a bit of a gotcha. If you're mono green, you Earthbend a forest. But I bet it only happens to you once.
It's true. It's true. And then you maybe change the way that you do certain things. Which is another point I wanted to bring up with Earthbending, is that originally I started Earthbending a bunch of, like, my like I don't know, my basic lands, because I was just like, this makes sense. I mean, like most of my lands are basic anyway. But I did realize that if you earthbend one of your dual colored like common lands, any of those ones that you could pay for, sacrifice a draw card, you do just get your land right back. And then you could keep doing that. So if you do have a bossing say, you could, spend a bunch of mana, but you do get to draw a card and get your land back that then draws you another card. And you can keep doing things like that in these little loops, which I originally didn't want to put my dual colored land because I was like, this is more important to tap for mana because it's more colors.
Right. So you're saying you could use
draw.
earthbending as a way to not lose a land when you sack it for the card.
Yes.
That's interesting.
So, like,
yeah.
if you want to earthbend something, it might be better to make it your dual-colored land if you are expecting to be in a situation where card advantage is going to win the game, and you need to make sure that you can keep drawing cards.
Right. And like
because
the
I
1/1 or whatever, it just doesn't matter at this point in the game. So,
Totally. You're like, yeah, it's just like a 2/2 or something, and I don't have time to make it bigger with other cards. I just need something to go.
Right.
I
I'm
did
tight
run
on
into that
lands.
situation.
I don't want to really sack one, but I need cards.
Yes. So that is kind of interesting.
I always would have defaulted to like, don't put it on the land I want to sack too.
Yeah, exactly. Which, like in this case, you do, because there is Cycle of Renewal is like the green Harrow, but it's like fixed Harrow kind of. Because I think Harrow says it's 3 mana, 2 and a green. You, as an additional cost to cast it, you have to sacrifice a land. And this one just says on resolution, sacrifice a land, go get 2 basics from your library. But if you sacrifice an earthbended land, you do just ramp straight, like two lands right into play, and you get the other land back. So you're like, if you're on the ramp plan, using your Cycle of Renewals on your earthbended lands, not too.
I mean, 3
not too
mana
bad.
ramp 2 lands is pretty busted.
Pretty busted.
If you can set that up.
I think it's a good idea. I did have one more little tip with earthbended stuff, just because it keeps coming up. And I'm like, this is so cool. I love all this stuff. The card, it's like the blue removal spell. It's like a single blue. It's called Watery Grasp. It's an enchantment, aura. And it enchants a creature, and that creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. It does not, however, tap that creature. And then you can waterbend 5 and then shuffle it into its owner's library. But it only costs 1 mana, so if your opponent is able to earthbend early, you can just kind of stone rain them for a few turns and just keep their land tapped, which is
It's nice.
pretty nice. And then
nice.
you don't really care about the rest of it. You're like, that was a 1 mana stone rain. I think I'm cool with that. Like, I feel pretty good. Now, to be fair, when I was able to do that, it felt really good. I still lost the game. But I was like, boy, did I really have you against the ropes in the turn 2, really just, or turn 3 or whatever. It felt very good. But keep an eye out for that. It does make Watery Grasp seem a lot more interesting if earthbending is taking over the format.
Yeah, it's kind of I was about to say it's like a classic example of a card that I don't think would generally be good in like most formats. But in this one, it has a new context because earthbending not only is a thing, but it's a very strong thing to be doing in limited.
Totally.
And so it's not like unreasonable that your opponent will earthbend something in the early game and attack you with it. And then you're like, gotcha, that land
Or
doesn't untap.
not even attack you with it. They just have to it has to be earthbended, and they tap it for mana.
And it's tapped, right? Yeah, maybe it was already tapped to cast whatever ended up earthbending it, or whatever.
Exactly. And they're like, but next turn I'm going to untap with this 4/4 or whatever. And you're like, no. Also, you're down a land.
Yeah. You thought earthbend protected you from this, but it does not.
It does not. So that is great. I think that's so. I like that so much. It's so fun. Blowing up people's lands. Come on, it's just one of the
I don't
joys
understand
of
why
Magic.
this is so frowned upon.
Taboo.
Like,
No.
there are so many obnoxious things you could do in Magic that are just accepted, and for some reason, going after mana bases is unacceptable.
Crazy. I know. So unfortunate for us that like blowing up lands.
Although I
And this
do
was
think
even
like kind of Stone Rain is the appropriate mana cost for it. When
Mana
it was
cost,
1 or
yeah.
2 mana. Or like the worst offender, of course, is strip mine. Like when it's a land. That's
Yes.
crazy.
When it's a land, and you start abusing it by being able to like return the land back and do it multiple times or whatever.
Yeah,
so
I
do
understand
get that.
not loving that, you know. But
This actually reminds me of a
give me
situation
my
I was
Armageddon
in.
back.
I was in recently where my opponent played the very interesting card Iroh Tea Master. So Iroh Tea Master is a rare. It's a 1 red white for a 2/2 legendary creature, human citizen ally. And it says when Iroh enters, you create a food token. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have target opponent gain control of target permanent you control. When you do, create a 1/1 white ally creature token and put a +1/+1 counter on that creature for each permanent your opponent controls, but you own. So my opponent was playing like a red-white aggro deck, plays Iroh. The first thing you do is like give the food token to your opponent and make a 2/2. And you're like, sure. You are like attacking me, and I don't think in general this card's any good because I don't want to be giving my opponent anything. Even if I might have like 1/1s around, but I don't want to give them chumpers for my new creature that's bigger. Like it just doesn't seem smart. And if they can use those things and get rid of them, then my creatures aren't really big. They're kind of small.
That's the thing I
But-
hate most about this card is it tells you to give them the food token, but then they just sack that to gain life, and now your creatures don't get bigger. Like,
Exactly. So that is annoying. My opponent had the bright idea of just giving me all of their lands. They just decided, you know what? You can have all my lands. So they started every turn giving me another land, another land, another land. And they're like stuck with like 5 cards in their hand, and they can't activate their Water Tribe Captain, which is like their 5 mana, everything gets +1/+1. That's how they're going to win the game. I'm playing multiple blockers each turn, and I'm like, you can't do anything. Why do you? And they kept doing it until they had no lands. I was like, this is such a bizarre strategy. I don't understand why you would do this.
it's like
it
the
got-
it's Armageddon strategy, right? Like except
Basically,
it only
yeah.
targets yourself.
Yeah, I Armageddon myself.
I think my 2/2 is
like-
enough to get there. Armageddon myself.
To be fair, like it's like a 2/2, and then you get a 3/3, and then you get a 4/4, and then a 5/5, and so like it does start to get kind of out of control. But they just didn't have like you have to leave yourself with some lands to play something. So I don't know. I think in general we should just not play this card in limited, but I think that's just kind of like a good rule of thumb.
So I was fairly heavy white, and this popped up in my draft. This is when I ended up being green-white allies or whatever.
You saw
And
this
it
card,
was-
you're like, let's go green.
It was like halfway through the draft or something, and I read it, and I just didn't understand it, and I was like, I don't have time to figure out what the hell this thing does, so I picked something else. But I read it later, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't like just rare draft that, assuming it was pretty good. That seems bad.
It's
But I read
The
it.
thing is,
I didn't understand it on the first try, and I was like, I don't have time to break down what this card is asking me to do. So
actually doing, yeah.
I was like, I have
I
5
will
seconds to choose something, and that seems complicated and weird, and I just don't want it.
Yeah. There is a weird thing where, like, there is a moment where when the trigger goes on the stack, you do choose targets. So it'll choose, like, you can have this thing and that opponent. And so, like, I had time to respond to the trigger and, like, sacrifice the food in response to that.
Right.
And then,
And that's the type of stuff that I was like, I don't have time to internalize how this plays, because it's like...
Yeah. But the thing is, after I sacrificed the food, they were still able to say they didn't want to do the trade. So, like, they had given me the food, but it was just like that weird thing of, like, I thought it was happening, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll sacrifice this food as opposed to playing a spell from my hand. And then they just didn't have to make they didn't have to give me something on the second time around, and like didn't have to make a guy. And I was like, this is so strange. Even though it looks like it will change. It was bizarre.
Yeah.
Anyway,
See, and this
it's
was, so I was reading
weird
it, I was
card.
like, I don't understand this card, but it
Yeah.
seems bad. I'm just going to choose this other card.
Totally.
But I want to tell you about the worst pick. Hopefully the worst pick I will make in this format.
Okay.
But I would like to preempt it by saying I knew this was a bad pick. I just
Okay.
only learned during the gameplay later just how bad it was. But I took Katara the Fearless, which is green, white, blue for a 3/3. And if a triggered ability of an ally you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. I knew that this card probably was not as good, or I knew it was not as good as the other option in the pack that I had, but I wanted to try it and see. And part of that is that I had also recently picked up Earth King's Lieutenant. And so I had this idea, and I had Aang. So I had this idea in my head of like, come on, we got to try to do the thing if we're going to be doing
That's
the
true.
thing.
Okay.
But the other option was Water Tribe Rallier,
Oh my gosh.
which what I ended, because I already had one in my pool in my deck,
Oh, sure. Okay.
and when I played later with the Water Tribe Rallier, I was like, oh, that pick was, I knew it was bad, but that pick was way worse than I
Way
thought.
worse.
This card is stupid. So Water Tribe Rallier is the 2/2 for 1 and a white human soldier ally. It has Waterbend 5. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Reveal a creature with power 3 or less from among them. Put it in your hand, and the rest on the bottom in a random order. This card is fucked up.
It's so good.
In my head, for some reason, this was like a tap ability of this creature. So it was like 5, tap this, and Waterbend. And I was like, this card still seems awesome. No, I was doing this like multiple times a turn. I just had a huge board. I wasn't attacking. And I was just like, cool, I'll just like draw 2 things. One of them's this Aang thing. I guess I'll play that. Just like
Get
my
something
board,
for
and then
free,
just my
do
board
another
just like
thing.
widens and widens and widens, and then I'd kill them. And it was like, any time that this stuck around, I easily won the game. This card is absurdly good. I think in my head, you had to tap this, and you had to do it at sorcery speed, and neither of those things are true. You can do this
Yes.
multiple times per turn, and you can commit to tapping your creatures for this ability after everything happens.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it up front. You could do it like after blocks when you know stuff's gonna, like, this card is ridiculous.
It's
and limited.
so good.
And so I'm hoping that's the worst pick I ever make, because the other card, I did live the dream once. I did have both Earth King's Lieutenant and Aang, and I was just like popping off, and my Earth King's Lieutenant had like 10 counters on it, and my Aang picked up like 2 things, and I was just like, yeah. But I would have won that game anyways. Like, I drew my
Exactly.
goods cards, and I was doing the thing.
You just made them gooder.
There was enough games where the Katara was a 3/3 for 3, and I was like, man, if this was a fucking Water Tribe Rallier, this game
Yeah.
would be different.
Very different. You would have got a trophy if it was, for sure.
Yeah, probably. Actually, it probably was the difference. I
As
did
we, like,
also
you
hit
know.
it with the Earth Kingdom Jailer once, which was pretty sick.
Oh,
which
that's
is-
okay. That's pretty nice. That's pretty
Yeah,
nice.
so I did, the Katara did do some nice stuff, but every time I was just like, no, this is pretty good. I don't even think that it's better than what the other card would have done. And there were games where I couldn't cast the Katara, right?
Yeah.
Because blue is
It's a hard, it's a hard to cast 3/3. I will say that, like, if you were in green white and you see Katara and you don't have Aang, I don't know for like, yeah, we'll splash blue for Katara.
No,
Like,
I
no.
definitely wouldn't, unless I'm
But
like
because
7
you had
Earth
Aang,
Kingdom Jailers deep or something.
yeah,
So I'm just
Crazy.
all Earth Kingdom Jailers.
Yeah. But the fact that you had Aang and you're already going to go into banned because of it,
And,
then
and the
I s-
Lieutenant, and I was like, this is a
you're
sick
like,
trigger to double.
This is pretty sick. So I do see it, but in general, I think Katara is really not a card that you should be actively trying to put into your deck.
Yeah, and the Water Tribe Rallier is amazing.
Is great. Yeah, what a sick card. Man, waterbending is that flexible, cool thing where it's like, it sometimes they look like they're really expensive, but like, boy, do they work really well.
Honestly, I was like, this card probably should have been like Waterbending 6. When I read it, I was like, ooh, 5 is a lot. And then playing
Is
with
a
it, I'm
lot.
like, this should have been 6, I think. Like,
Yeah. When you look at some of the waterbending things, it's like so nice. I literally just,
like my random food tokens tap for this? That doesn't feel right.
so nice. Yeah, yesterday somebody was just playing like waterbending lesson, which is like 4 mana draw 3, discard 1 unless you waterbend 2. And I killed one of their... They had a land, so it was turn 5. They had a land open and a creature, and I just killed the creature in response to the cast, so they had to discard a card, because I was like, I'm not letting you just get this for free.
No.
It's worth it. I was like, no matter what the creature is, I'm like, it's just, I can't let you get that extra thing. It's just so much value. So waterbending, yeah, it's also good, which is the thing. It just the stuff is working. It's fun. I don't know. I'm having a good time.
Yeah, I never experienced firebending be good. I had games where all of the bendings were good. I did play against like a mono red deck that seemed really into firebending, but it just never kind of did anything. They were always kind of on the back foot. I had the bigger creatures, and so they were like
hard
defending with 1/3s and stuff. So that was the only one I didn't really get to see in action. I think maybe I overrated airbending and underrated earthbending a little bit.
Yeah.
Coming into this set, but just based on one draft, so we'll see.
Of course, like we'll have to see. Yeah, some of the firebending stuff that I was doing was a lot more of like either a bunch of creatures had activated abilities, or like I really love Azula on the Hunt. It's like the 4 mana 4/3 firebending 2, and then when it attacks you lose life, make a clue. I love that card so much. Because just getting extra pieces of cardboard is awesome. You can crack them if you want. You don't have to. They can sit around and do other things. So I had a trophy draft where I played her a lot, and did some really cool things with... there's this card that I really underrated in my set review that ended up working out really well, specifically with Azula, and it's Low and Lie Twin Tutors. It's like 5 mana, so it's 4 and a black for a 2/2. So I was like, ugh, 5 mana for a 2/2 is rough. But it's a legendary creature, human advisor, and when it enters, you search your library for a lesson or a noble card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then noble creatures you control and lesson spells you control have lifelink. So it does turn Azula into this like lifelinking threat that you can like obviously tutor up with, but then you get to draw a bunch of cards with. But Low and Lie, you just play it, go get firebending lesson, and then you just have like make your own lightning helix or make your own lightning helix lava axe thing. It doesn't hit face, but like holy crap, like dealing 5 damage, killing the creature, and gaining 5 life is awesome. And it ended up being just way better than I had thought. And there were several situations where I'm like, well, I have Azula out. If I draw Low and Lie, I can just play it, get a removal spell, and then just attack for 4 lifelink, and also just draw cards. I don't know. This is just great. It ended up working really well. I had like 6 targets in my deck, so it ended up being very helpful. I think in general it's not that great, but in that specific deck, I was like, okay, you're doing work. Okay, I see you. I see it. But that was
sick.
also because people kept passing me firebending lesson. I'm like, I had like 3 of them. I was like, I think I had 3 firebending lessons and 2 lightning strikes in that deck, and I was like, okay, this is great.
I like hearing stories like that about black though, because just in that one draft I did, black wasn't doing it for me. Anytime my opponents played black, I was kind of like, yeah. I think my bias, just based on that one draft, is to go kind of Naya in this set. But things will change obviously, and I'm sure in a few weeks when I check the 17 lands data, there'll be egg all over my face being like, black's the strongest color by far.
Earthbending sucks, firebending's the best.
Yeah, exactly right. Azula on the Hunt, best card in the set, the black card with firebending. But no, it's nice to hear like people having good experiences with black. I just think like the Naya colors seem to have good creatures, and the removal seems so it's just like if removal is bad, you generally want to be in the colors with good creatures, right? So probably like Gruul's just where you want to be, because you just have good creatures and everyone else has shitty removal.
And also you have good creatures and some of the best removal. I mean, like firebending lesson and lightning strike just kind of do all the things you need to do.
So you have like firebending lesson, lightning strike, and then like like maybe green's the best color kind of thing because it's a creature centric format and earthbending is strong.
Yeah, could be. Could be. We will have to see how the format shakes out, but so far it's been fantastic.
I like green white though. I've had good success with green white, you know.
Makes sense. I trophied with like Boros and with like Rakdos. And then
I do want to
so
try
those were
Boros.
both like
Boros would be sick.
I also O3'd with Boros, so yeah,
High variance.
It's high
Love
variance. And where one deck maybe I forced a little bit too much, one I was like playing a little bit better. And I also did pretty well with like a this like Soul Tie deck, which I thought was going to be terrible, but it was like heavy blue green splash black for removal spells, and it was like I was basically winning the game off of cards like First Time Flyer, which is a 2-mana 1/2 flyer, but if there's a lesson card in your graveyard, it becomes a 2/3. And so I had like a good amount of lessons in there and a couple different things. I was playing with the Platypus Bear, so I could like mill stuff to get lessons in my yard. And it was like a very interesting kind of deck. There's like the lesson strategy, there's a lot of like threshold 3 where you want to like that is something that we were talking about in the Discord actually, where it's like if you have a deck that cares about lessons, how many lessons do you need in your deck? Because it really feels like the lessons that are awesome are 100% firebending lesson. That's like the one you feel the best about because it's also just a removal spell.
Yeah.
But some of the other lessons are like great, but you do run into situations where like, well, my like good bread and butter cards aren't lessons. And there's a bunch of other cards that I'm playing because they're lessons. But like if they didn't have lessons stapled on them, would I be playing them? So I think they did a good job of giving you a mix and match. And I think if you're in a lesson type thing, you're playing cards that care about lessons, I'd want to be touching red in some way. Even though it's primarily like a teamer color thing. So red is in the mix, but I think you want to be red.
Yeah.
Just so you can take advantage of some of that stuff.
That'd be my starting point, right? Like in this draft, I tried just to not worry too much about it. I was like, that's a several drafts down the road kind of thing to start. And I also, I'm pretty sure I had a seat for 5-color shrines, if that's a real deck, because I saw a lot of shrines, and I had like the good ones early. And I was just like, not draft one, man. Not draft one. I'm not going in on 5-color shrines. I'll let other people prove that to me, and then... But if that's a deck, I had the seat for it for sure. So, but I think my default on the lessons is you want to at least 90%. You want to be playing lessons you would play even if they weren't lessons.
Absolutely.
And then once you have a bunch of those, you build the lessons like. Because I didn't see any payoffs that were just like, oh, I want to make my whole deck shitty for this payoff. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
So yeah, if you get a bunch of firebending lessons, there are a couple other lessons that are fine cards, but like you said, some of them are like, well, would I play this if it wasn't a lesson? Like, I don't think so.
Which is one of the reasons why I really like First Time Flyer, because its threshold is 1. I need 1 lesson in my yard, and it works.
Yeah. And that's what I did in my deck, is like anything that cared about lessons, I made sure it only cared about having 1 lesson, because I was playing the colorless one that gets you a land and or a shrine. And I was like, I'm doing this to splash anyways, and I have the white shrine that puts a counter on everything as a way to go pick it up if I want to later, so I'm happy to play this card anyways, and then...
Of the shrines, that is the one that I think you can play. I think... all the other ones are probably not worth it unless you're in the shrine deck. But Southern Air Temple, that's the white one that puts a counter on everything. You could just play that card. Because if you can airbend it, you can just put the counters on stuff again. Like, that's pretty sick.
Exactly, yeah. And I had, like, airbending lessons. So I had, like, 3 lessons that I was happy to play, or was going to play anyways. So I was like, okay, if stuff cares. There was that green saga that's like you draw a card if you have a lesson in your graveyard.
Oh, Leaves from the Vine.
Like, this feels fine. It was never great, but it was okay. But I was like, I feel like I could add this as a playable in my deck because I think I drew a card on it almost every time. So
yeah, because it hits off of creatures and lessons, so there's a pretty good shot you'll be able to get it. But yeah. Anyway, Awesome. I have many
Yeah,
more
it's
things
fun.
to say, as I always do, but I just feels so good to be back playing some real games of Magic. I don't know. I love it.
I I'm feeling better about this format, you know? Like I think
Hmm.
we identified through the Omen paths not being a great limited format almost immediately. So at the very
Yes.
least, I'm feeling like this one is better than that. It's not as
It's
bad as
way
that one
I
was.
yeah, it's one of those things that like I can't really tell if it's just like a phenomenal Magic set that's an all-timer or it's just so much better than what we had just been dealing with. And I just forgot how bad Magic sets could be.
Right.
So this one just feels like there's
Now,
just so many things.
I will say a lot of my games were influenced by rares. Like I had a few myself, in particular the
Yeah.
Lieutenant and the Ang did a lot of
And Aang.
game
Yeah.
breaking for me, and finding the Lieutenant with an Ang was a nice play that happened to me more than once. Um,
Yeah. That sounds gross.
and then I just kind of ran away with it. And then the games I lost, one was an uncommon, right? Like we talked about, but the other game I lost was because my opponent had an Ang, and I the Bant one. They're like the exact same deck as me, basically, like
Yeah.
Bant allies with Ang as the reason they're playing blue. And then, like I said, the Rise of Sozin just kind of massacred me. So it felt like a lot of my games were decided by rares and mythics. So I don't know if that's just this one draft, or if that's what this format, maybe a little more princey. I don't know. But yeah, it just is what it is, right? Some people like Prince formats, some people like them less. It's something I'm going to keep an eye
Totally.
out moving forward. That like there are definitely some rares in this set that can take you from unwinnable spots to unlosable spots, and so you want to be just have those in the back of your mind when you play against those decks.
Yeah, just remember that there are things that can do this. I mean, I did run into a situation where, like, my opponent, like, I slammed the giant koi, which is going to kill them in 2 turns because it can be unblockable by waterbending 3. And my opponent immediately plays Ko, the face stealer, which is a mythic black 6/6 that can exile one of my creatures and then gain its activated abilities. So they
That's a
can
beating,
then
man. It's the
turn it
funniest thing.
into like its activated ability makes it unblockable. I then attack my opponent with Gran, who's like a 1/2, but when it taps, you get to loot. I draw into Ty Lee Chi Blocker, which is my rare. That's like a 3 mana 2/1, but when it enters with flash speed, it taps something down and it stays tapped until Ty Lee leaves. And so then my opponent goes, like, pays the 1 life to, make it unblockable or whatever, pays all the mana. I tap it down for the rest of the game. I win the game because of this granny play where I attacked just to
Love
try to
it.
find something to beat this or this, the face dealer. And it was just one of those awesome games where I'm like, hell yeah, that was sweet. But
I love it when
did-
that works because, like, 70% of the time you draw like Island
a land or something. Yeah, that sucks. But it was really exciting. So, hey, you never know. You never know. Sometimes you got to throw away your grand so you can try to find your piece that does remove it. Even if you don't know what that card is, you're like, I need something. I don't know what stops this, but I need to find it, and then you do. So,
Yeah, oftentimes in that situation, I think through like, oh, what could I draw here? And then I'm like, it doesn't matter. If I don't draw something relevant, I just lose. So let's just see what the top
we
card of the
should
deck
just
is.
try. Yeah,
Like, yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, don't give up too early, folks. I have been running into a lot of early scoopers, so don't be an early scooper here. Like, even if the board looks bad, if you're at 18 life and have like a creature on the board, just give it a couple turns. Like,
Yeah, you never know.
I don't know. You don't need to scoop just because. It just always baffles me how early people scoop sometimes. Like, you only get like 3 losses, then it's over. Just don't give one up for free. I don't know. Hey, practice for these events. Practice for the events that we're going to play in next year.
Yeah, or like the shame scoop always gets me, where it's like they make a misplay and they're like, "Ah, I'm embarrassed. I'll just concede." I'm like, we're in an arena. Like,
Is it- I
Don't worry
can't
about
see
it.
you.
how many
And
mistakes
also-
I make?
Yeah, it's early in the format. Just be like, oops, and then just keep going.
Totally.
See if you can.
It's far from a game losing play.
Exactly. It'll be even better if you like make that misplay and then still win. That's going to be a great story. So stick it out.
Or it's a freebie. If you lose now, you'll be like, yeah, just because I did that stupid thing. Otherwise, I totally
exactly.
won.
Yeah. Anyway, folks, Jeff, do you want to move over to some constructed talk and do our normal worth a slot section of our First Tips episode?
Let's do it.
All right, Jeff. As always, we pick 3 cards that are worth a slot in your standard decks. However, Jeff, could you explain exactly how this goes down?
Yes. So we like to choose cards that are going to be valuable for you to spend your wild cards on. Wild cards are the most important resource on Arena, so we want you to use them wisely. That being said, some cards are worth a slot in your deck or worth a wild card. And so what we like to do is choose a layup. This is a card that is definitely, if you're interested in playing this card, it is definitely worth a wild card. Feel free. But then we have a 3-pointer. That's something that we think you should keep your eye on. If you're interested, you shouldn't feel too bad about crafting it. But things might not land the right way for this card to really, find a home, things like that. And then we find a half-court shot. That's the card that we just kind of wish or want to be good, but I've kind of acknowledged that it's not good. So kind of means like I'm probably going to waste a wild card on this, but you maybe shouldn't. Now, we have had half-court shots that ended up being staples.
Going in.
Sometimes they do go in, so, it's not a total throwaway, but it is just cards that we think are interesting and, are something we want to build with or play with. And sometimes, the metagame lands in such a way that they are indeed a part of it. Then we like to choose a card that we think is overrated. Presumably this is a card that you've seen all over social media, and we think maybe you shouldn't actually spend a wild card on that, or it just grinds our gears. And then we choose a card that we think is underrated. This is the opposite. We're like, whoa, this card's great, but nobody is talking about it. Why is that? I know I just kind of explained what those 2 English words mean to you, even though you know what they mean, but here we are.
Hey, it's always good. It's always good to just, remind
I like
exactly
explaining it
means.
because people often seem to think that overrated means it's bad. If a card is overrated, then I think it's bad. It's like, no, I just think it's often over... I get this every time, but overrated cards are usually still good cards. They're just not cards that need to be banned 1 week into their existence.
Yes. All right, Jeff. I can't remember who goes first right here.
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
All right. Well, thank you. That's very nice. Because layups, these are easy ones. We got to pick something that is for sure going to be worth your money, your wild cards. So I'm picking the easiest one of them all. Already making waves. Already looking sweet. Badger Mole Cub. Right in there. This card is awesome. The mythic wild card that you're going to have to spend on it. Badger Mole Cub is 1 and a green for a 2/2 creature Badger Mole. It says when this creature enters Earthbend 1, and whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. Really, really sweet if your turn 1 was Lawnmower Elves into Badger Cub, and then your Lawnmower Elves taps for 2, and you can play another Badger Cub, or whatever other 2-drop you'd like to play, or another Lawnmower Elves, or whatever you're going to do. This guy ramps really well, loves Lawnmower Elves and Mana Dorks. Lawnmower Elves is in Standard for like 5 years, I guess 4 years now.
I assume just forever, though, right? Like,
I think they're going to try to keep it in forever. This card has been looking really sweet. People are ramping out their, Simic Aggro is back in a big way. This is a big reason for it. This card's awesome and does give the situation of, what are we killing here? Do we have to kill the cub just so it can't, make everything have more mana, but then they also have creatures that now you can put counters on or do more stuff, or it's very, very cool and definitely worth spending some wild cards on. 4 of them. I'm writing that down. You could do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Badger Mole Cub is awesome. We knew it as soon as it was spoiled. This is a hell of a 2-drop. And I think kind of the de facto choice for best card in this set. It's just a nuts card.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's a great choice. I think there are kind of two options as considering as sort of, playing for second here. But in the end, I feel like I just wanted to go with Wan Shi Tong. I think that card, just like the power level on it is so ratcheted up. The other one was something that you brought up in a previous episode. Actually, I think you brought up both these cards. But the other one I was looking at is like Firebending Student, I think, is a little better than I anticipated. And with the opening in mono red for other creatures, I do think there's a window for it. But I just think the power level alone on Wan Shi Tong is so high that this one feels safer to me. It's like, yeah, craft this. If you like this kind of effect, then this card will deliver what you want, which is just an outrageous finisher in a deck that wants to play at instant speed. And, goes in ramp decks too. Like, I don't know. This is, as someone who played a lot of Hydroid Crisis, love this card. And I don't see it being a wrong choice to craft this. This card just has so much. Every line is powerful. You keep waiting for the drawback, and it never comes. So it's flexible, It's powerful, and it's instant speed. What more can you want?
Yeah, Flash, Flying Vigilance. He gets counters. You draw cards when your opponent shuffles or searches. You get cards. It's great. I do like the Wan Shi Tong was the other card that I was going to pick. Like I had two just in case I went second. Yeah. So I think our heads were in exactly the same place. And this card also feels like it can easily slip into Dimir, which we had already talked about as probably, one of the best decks now in Standard. And seeing it there, seeing it in Azorius Control, seeing it in seeing it in kind of whatever you want. But that just reminding everyone that Jeff had brought up a great point. If you're playing this alongside your Demolition Fields or what have you, any land that blows up their lands,
it's my favorite part of it.
lets them search. This gets bigger and you draw cards. So we did get Price of Freedom in the set. So that is a 2-mana Stone Rain, but it does let them search the library for a new land, and then you draw a card.
Right, it's like the wildfire thing, right?
Except for Price of Freedom doesn't let you target your own lands. While,
so it's a fixed version of that card.
Yeah, because the wildfires, you could target your indestructible lands and just ramp for 2.
Which is how the card saw most of its play.
Basically all its play. As opposed to, I'm just going to kill your whatever thing. You still have a land, but I drew a card, so I spent 2 mana. With Wan Shi Tong, you could have a little fun blowing up some lands, some non-basic lands. So, but yeah, super cool. Great stuff. But Jeff, what's your 3-pointer?
All right, this is another card that we talked about, but this might be a hint. But after actually playing with this card, granted in limited, it still felt just totally nuts. It's good early, it's good late. You just always want this card. And so I picked Earth King's Lieutenant, which I think is just a great 3-pointer because the card itself is amazing. The question is whether an allies deck can get there and hold firmly in the metagame. Like, that's what you're gambling on here. I think if the allies deck is a thing, there's no question that this is a big part of it and a reason why. It's just about, how much support will allies get throughout all of Standard, etc.
Yeah.
I'm thinking there are some pushed allies here, so I'm thinking this could be a real deck. And
go the distance,
wouldn't be that hard to put an ally here and there and sets moving forward and stuff. So I think this is one I'd be willing to take a gamble on personally. I'd craft an allies deck just because it seems fun, and it seems pretty good, to be honest. There's some powerful stuff in this set for it. And if allies is a thing, this is a huge reason why anyone who's played against Thalia's Lieutenant knows how good this card is, because
Yeah.
it's just good at all situations. And so
Yeah.
you feel good like throwing this out on turn 2 and it just grows with the game, and you feel good drawing this on turn 5 as the push to get everything through. So
Yeah. The trample on this card really pushes it
adding
over the
trample
edge.
to it is crazy. Yeah.
Ugh, it's so crazy. You know what's also crazy, Jeff? Our picks are just so in line tonight. Because I also picked a card that it was a 3-pointer in my mind for exactly the same reason. That it fits into literally that same deck, but doesn't fit anywhere else. And so I picked South Pole Voyager, which is 1 and white for a
nice.
2/2 creature, human, scout, ally at rare. It says whenever this creature or another ally you control enters, you gain 1 life. If this is the second time this ability resolved this turn, you draw a card. So obviously, like the gating the life part, we don't care as much about, but drawing the cards we do care a lot about. And we're probably playing this uncommon that's like the reinforcements. It's like a 2-mana 1/1 flash. It's an ally and it makes an ally token, so it's 2 bodies for 2 mana. If we end up going in a really wide kind of like green-white type of deck, this with that card just draws you a card immediately.
No, I think this is a great pick too. I know you mentioned like you're generally in it for drawing a card, especially in allies, because allies wants to go wide, is inherently aggressive. But I think you shouldn't underestimate the Soul Sisters aspect of this against mono red. Like, this doesn't
That's
say,
true.
this doesn't say like the first time it happens, gain a life, the second time draw a card. This is every time an ally comes into play, you gain a life for sure. And then if it, specifically the second time you draw a card. But this could still gain you 6, 7 life.
That's
8
true,
life
that's very
the
true.
course of the game. So, in a matchup where that matters, this is going to be one of those like underrated cards in a way, because you're really playing it for that, to keep your
draw
hand
card.
flowing as you flood the board. But there are matchups where the fact that you want to play this anyways and it just happened to gain you like 5, 6 life super matters, right? And I think the thing that I like most about this card is the way the allies deck is shaping up. There are other lightning rods for removal. So I see this as the one that like sticks around because they have to kill all the other ones. And then this one is just quietly over there gaining you like 5 life and drawing you 2 or 3 cards. And you're like,
Yeah.
you actually needed to kill this one. But,
I think this could easily be the one that, like, when you play against the deck enough times, you're like, that's the card we're trying to kill.
Right.
We have to kill that one because otherwise we're never going to be able to beat them down or win the game. So very
but when
sweet
their
card,
game
but
plan
also
is going well, there's always going to be like some massive thing that you're just
That's,
like,
like,
"Fuck, I feel
immediately."
like I have to kill that thing.
yeah. So yeah, sweet card.
I'm
but
pumped
also-
for allies, man. I think I'm glad they pushed the power level so much, because sometimes they'll give you like one payoff, and you're like, you better be printing a bunch more allies, or what was the point of this? Like, if this is the
exactly.
set where you're printing allies, and this is supposed to be in long term standard, you gotta push it now. And if it's really good up front, big deal. It's gonna like weaken over time naturally because fewer
Exactly.
allies are entering the metagame.
Like, let's play this deck now. Yeah, I 100% agree. So it already feels like it's kind of there. So I have, I think, officially retracted my statement from last week where I was not as excited about the ally deck in the Dragon Tea Shop. And now I think I'm going
Dragon
to
Tea
be...
Shop looking pretty good now.
I'm going to be looking at that land more. I did pass one in a draft literally the other day and was like, I'm just not going to take it. And then now I'm like, damn it, I wish I took that land. So, anyway, that's what's going on there. But I will say, we are going into our half-court shots. Now, I have a pick right here. I don't really know how fully half-court it actually is, but It's a really sweet card that if I saw a deck built all around it in Standard, I would be like, let me see what you're doing. And I think there's a lot of ways to combat the strategy on multiple different axes, which is probably going to make it unplayable. I think it's a bomb in Draft, which is part of the reason why I'm really excited for this card. But I think in Standard, I don't know if it's really going to get there. But this card is Avatar Destiny. It is green. It's 2 green for an enchantment aura at rare. It says enchanted creature you control, and enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard, and is an avatar in addition to its other types. And when enchanted creature dies, mill cards equal to its power. Return this card to its owner's hand, and up to 1 creature card milled this way to the battlefield under your control. So it's like a hyper mill type deck that also wants a ton of creatures and also one giant creature. So it seems like such a strange build that could also, if you start to get in loops, mill you out completely. I think it's a really interesting card, and it's obviously an aura, which I like right off the bat. But does different aura things. Like, sometimes we see the card advantage coming from auras where you play it and you draw a card when it enters, or when the aura goes to your graveyard, you get to put it back into your hand, so you get to play it again. That has this aspect to it. But it also lets you, like, cheat creatures from cards that were milled back into play. And you can mill a ton of creatures a ton of cards from your library, because your creature could be so huge because you have creature cards in your graveyard. But also it gets better and better the more cards in your graveyard, but also it gets scarier and scarier because you could just mill out your whole deck. So, like, there's all this weird balancing act that goes on, and, like, the fact that graveyard strategies can easily get wiped out because of Rest in Peace, because this card, you try to cast it, your opponent can obviously do the normal aura thing, kill the creature in response. It's a 4-mana aura, that's kind of sucks. So I don't think it's going to really get there in Standard, but I just think this card is so cool, and the design is so interesting and different, and I love the space that we're moving with this aura, that I would be so excited if there was something we could do with it in Standard. Even though I don't have a lot of faith in it, I still, if someone plays this and beats me with it, I'm going to be like, bravo, buddy, this is sick. So cool.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting pick. I actually saw this card in the draft and was like, is this good? I have no idea. And I ended up not taking it, actually. But
ouch.
I was like, I think this card is probably good in draft. But my concern was, like, what you mentioned about the 4 mana and just being exposed to instant speed removal, where I'm just like, ugh, it would suck so bad to play this and get blown up in response. I think in draft, or if there's a bunch of exile or like pacifism style stuff, I was always like, ugh, it just feels rough. And I didn't feel confident I knew the format well enough to know, like, how likely
that would happen.
Like, how often are you getting blown out with this versus how often is this being the kind of, like, oh, I get a massive creature that even if you kill it, I get something back. I think just having played the format even just one draft, I'm like, yeah, I probably should take that card. It seemed like it would have been strong in a lot of my games.
Especially in a game where you have tons of creatures, or you're
and the removal and it was really early in the draft, like kind of mid pack one. I was like, other people seem to think this sucks, so I don't know. And I wasn't green yet either. That's the other thing. I was white.
That's what's hard.
Like, I had Aang, and then I was seeing white cards. So it's like, I wanted to be green, so it was tempting. But it was one of those things where, like, where my deck landed, I was like, I probably should have taken that.
Imagine the situation where you're, like, attacking with your Avatar Destiny, and they're like, okay, we finally get to kill this. You mill over Aang, put that on the battlefield, get another thing from your deck, return this to your hand. Your opponent's like, what the hell? Aang immediately flips because a card left, or whatever. Like, that's...
nice little combo, yeah.
That's a combo. That's nuts. Anyway...
But I'm with you. Like, this is a sweet card, and if I saw a deck built around this, like, this is one of those cards, like, if you lose to this, you can't be mad. You can't
I don't
be
think
mad.
you can be mad. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just be like, damn, what? Give me the I need the deck picks. Give me the deck picks. Because it's a sweet card. For sure.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of interesting because one of the cards, you know, I might as well talk about it now. Well, actually, I'll use it later.
Okay.
I think the card that I picked for this, I think my card is worse than your card, but it's in the same vein where it's like, it's interesting the way they went with this. So I mostly just wanted to talk about it, but
Okay.
I think it's one of those cards that has upside potential where something could happen with this, but I think they were kind of safe with it, and that's Sozin's Comet, which is a 3 red sorcery, and it says each creature you control gains firebending 5 till end of turn, which means every creature you have can attack and generate 5 red mana, and it has foretell for 2 and a red, meaning you could pay 2 mana of any color to foretell this, and then later you can cast this for just 3 mana, meaning like this is one hell of a ritual if you have a few creatures that you can attack with. This could generate an absolutely unprecedented amount of mana. Like, you pay 3 and just 2 creatures out there generates 10 mana. That's plus 7, right? Wild. Of course, you have to use it in combat. So you need one of the instant speed fireballs. I don't even know if those are in the standard format.
We definitely lost our big one.
Like a volcanic
did we-
geyser, is that like kicking around in the core set kind of thing?
Wait, no. We still have the one. We still have one. We just stopped playing it because our land package was gone. But the card is still in. That was printed in Murders at Karlov Manor. So yeah, we do have one.
Well, there you
green
go.
one.
So this is asking something a little different of you, something much harder, which is get a wide board.
Yeah.
But it promises an inordinate amount of mana. And so as long as you have an instant speed fireball effect, you make some dorks. There are actually a few cards that make firebending dorks in this thing. And I think it
That's
stacks. If it has firebending 1 and if you get firebending 5, I think it makes 6 mana.
It gets 2 instances, yeah.
And so the deck that I had imagining in my head is like big red, where it's like it's all just kind of red, mono red instants and sorceries, and a lot of them make tokens. And the whole idea is I just generate mana through firebending, and I kill you with some sort of, fireball
Giant
to the face
fireball.
during combat, which seems sweet. I don't know, like it's very easy to interact with such a deck. The deck loses to a counterspell kind of thing, or like,
A
just
board wipe
a little bit
or-
of board control and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And so I really like what they did here, where they made one of the most powerful, like, in terms of mana generation possibilities, rituals you'll ever see, but the restrictions on it are so strong that it's not busted. And the restrictions are also a little bit implicit, right? It's like, it's not only that it has to happen in combat, it's also that you need a deck that has a bunch of creatures in order to even get anything in the first place. So I really like the design of this card because it really pays you off for doing something that's difficult to do. And that probably just means it's not worth it, because that's the way, contemporary magic is. It's like, you just want the stuff that's good on its own. And
You just need cards that do stuff without other stuff. But
yeah, and then you can for some reason there are cards that are amazing on their own and also synergize with other cards that are amazing on their own. It's just like, that's the metagame. But I'm still old school, where I like synergy, and so
yeah.
I would love a deck like this
Yeah.
to be good.
The thing that I didn't really realize until this moment is that you can pay the 2 mana for the foretell with your firebenders.
That's
So,
a
like,
good point. So if you make firebending tokens, you could sneak
Mm-hmm.
this through in combat as a foretell. Yeah.
yeah, you just get to. I mean, I think your opponent is going to know what card it is because it's the only foretell card in all of the standard format.
For now.
But yeah, that's true. That's true. Though I will say, like, in the show, it's perfect because everybody knows about the comet coming, and so they're all like, everyone's preparing, and all this stuff is happening.
That's actually
so it's
hilarious. So it's foretold.
So it's
like
yeah, so it's foretold. It's like we know it's happening, and every single person in the entire story is like gearing up for this moment, and so when you play it in Magic, like people know you foretold something. They're like, I know exactly what that is.
Has
So
to be
I know,
someone's
but
comet. Yeah.
can you stop it? And they're
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Yeah. So that is very flavorful. Sweet. All right. I like its applications in Constructed a lot more than in Limited. That's for sure.
Yeah. This is not something I would take in limited.
Yeah, in Limited, you should never take it. However, I just want to say this really quickly. There is a card that if you have it, you could actually win the game doing it. You just have to, of course, have 1,000,000 creatures or whatever. But if you do play the Rakdos Hybrid card, Vindictive Warden, you can pay 3 mana, target creature, or sorry, it says this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. And so it goes in like the Rakdos or red decks or whatever. So if you happen to generate
Zach,
1,000,000
no.
mana,
No,
I'm just
don't play
say-
Sozin's Comet, even if you have that.
I'm saying that you shouldn't. I'm just telling you that's the only way that you could actually win, because there isn't any other way to like win off of this card. You have to play
Sozin's
that card.
Comet is an F plus in limited. So.
It is true. I'm just telling people. I don't want to be like the devil in your ear, but I mean,
Now I'm gonna
you shouldn't
build that
take it.
deck.
You should never take it.
Now I'm going to build
There's
that
one
deck,
way.
and it's going to work, and I'm going to feel bad. I'm just going to be like, this
It's not
wasn't
going to
right.
work.
This
Don't
wasn't
worry,
right.
it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
All
But
right. All right.
just so it's out there.
You're
anyway,
the
Jeff,
streamer.
what's your-
You're the one who's likely to get pressured into that.
Oh, I know. No, I'm usually pretty diligent about making sure that I don't. Yeah, like I had one of my Boros builds. I think it was the one that got the trophy. Chat had me pick up Katara, the like white blue, and I was like, oh, I don't know if we can sneak blue into here. And I was like waffling between like white red or white green the whole draft, and then I got this Katara, and I was like, oh, I kind of am in this like ally thing, and I ended up throwing all of that out the window, just playing white red like beats, and it was totally great. So didn't even need the Katara. It felt very nice.
Didn't need to double splash blue.
Yeah, probably would have made my deck a lot worse. I'm happy that I was able to just say, you know what, this isn't the deck for it. Let's keep it in the sideboard, even though I did take it. But Jeff, what's your overrated card for the set?
Yeah. So again, I spoke earlier, right? Like overrated doesn't mean a card is bad. Most overrated cards are good. It's just people think they're insanely good.
Right.
But sometimes they are just bad. And for some reason, people don't think they're bad. That's also fits the definition of overrated.
Yeah.
And we've been talking a lot about, mono white being an up and coming deck, and they've been giving it a lot of firepower in recent sets and stuff. And so I just wanted to call out a card that some people might, for some unknown reason, think is actually good, and accidentally put it in their mono white decks. And I want to cut that off right now. And so the card that I chose for my overrated card is Momo Friendly Flyer.
I knew you were going to
is-
say that.
Which is 1 white mana for a 1/1 lemur bat ally with flying. It says the first non-lemur creature spell with flying you cast each turn costs 1 less to cast. Whenever another creature you control with flying enters, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. I've just seen this sort of hovering around a few deck lists. Some, content creators talking about it, and it just seems like really, really bad. So figured I'd call this out as
Jeff.
just being unplayable.
Some
And,
people are saying this is the white Lawn and War elves. Okay, so
And those people are exactly the reason I selected it as my overrated.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, I get it. Jeez. Oh man, I wish that I could talk about a card that you liked and talked about. I don't think it's that bad. I think you can play it. It's just it's not in the white weenie deck. It's a very specific deck. Oh my gosh. Look what I have to put up with. God, come on. Fine. Sorry I ever talked about Momo. Okay. All right, no, that's fair. I get it. My overrated card is my normal kind of soapbox thing of like I do think about things primarily. You know, I think about limited a lot, and so I do use this one mostly to talk about limited stuff because with constructed, obviously things change a lot. But I wanted
ever since he picked, the best card in the set as his overrated card, he's now switched to limited overrated. So,
okay, that was years ago. What is this just? Okay, is this just time that you're just like ripping on me? I didn't realize that we were doing that. All right, well,
that's what I use this segment for. Just to rip on you, because you are the only one that I talk to about Magic. So
that's true.
If a card is overrated, it has to be something that you think is good.
That's true. That's true. Okay, fine. That's fine. Anyway, I'm going to talk about a colorless card that's mythic. That oftentimes, when you're in a draft, you're like, "Hell yeah, we got that colorless mythic. This is going to be sweet in our deck." I don't think this one is. And this is the one that's probably closest to playable that I still think you probably shouldn't put into your deck.
I was like, that should narrow it down, but there are actually 3 cards that fit that description. So.
There are 3 cards. But I'm picking Planetarium of Wan Shi Tong. So this is 6 mana for a legendary artifact at Mythic. And you can pay 1 mana and tap it to scry 2. And then whenever you scry or surveil, look at the top card of your library, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Do this only once each turn. So really promises a lot, right? Promises the world. Very exciting. Oh, how many times can I scry and surveil? I can be playing like things for free on my turn, on my opponent's turn. I can do it with this thing. But like, you already got to 6 mana. And, like, you probably want to do this on the turn that it comes down, so it's probably 7 mana. And sure, you get to play some stuff for free, but, like, you can whiff. And there's not a ton of other things that are going to let you scry in the draft format. In Standard, we do have, like, the Surveil lands, so you could technically play this alongside those. And like, there's probably some more things you can do if you set it up correctly. But I don't even know if it's still even good in that place. That's why I'm like, I'm not really going to talk about that because there's probably something that you can do. I'm sure people will put decks together, but I think ultimately it's just like, dang it, I want my like 6 mana card to like do something without being like, now that I got to 6 mana, I get to play this card and hope I get another card. You know, it's like, that's not where you want to be. You want this card to be the card that's winning the game, like not the card that's like, and now we hope. You know, it's like, no, you want to win now. Like it it does give you advantage. It does cheat mana cost, all that stuff. But like, you don't have great ways.
That's the thing, right? Like,
I guess you spent the mana into this thing so that you can then.
It's unlikely to cheat mana cost. Like, what is in your deck where, you're hoping to hit?
I don't know. More 6 mana, 7 mana things that you probably shouldn't have that many of in your deck to begin with. So like,
I think like, this is a great pick for limited because I bet there are people that see this and be like, whoa, it's powerful or whatever. Imagine a card said 7 mana sorcery. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. You may play one of them without paying its mana cost. I think everyone would know that card is awful. Like, in limited, right? Mm-hmm. And in construct, it's just a terrible card. Yes. This is that 90% of the time, right? Like, the amount of times that you're doing this multiple times and getting value each time, it has to be such a very specific situation.
Totally.
This card is definitely bad. My favorite part about this card, though, is the reminder text that says you get to that you get to scry or surveil first. Because I understand it could be a bit confusing. Like, oh, do I have to just flip the top card and then I get to scry and surveil to set up the next one? Be like, that would be so bad.
This is Serum Visions.
The reminder text is it's not that shitty. Basically,
it's just it's saying you have to have finished scrying for the trigger to go on the stack, is what it's trying to tell you.
You get to look first.
And then you get to do it. This, instead of being like a sorcery, you do get to do this multiple times over multiple turns. But there's a very specific draft format where you're okay being like, I really need to be able to play 2 spells every turn to then win the game. And that would be the situation that this could be possibly worth playing. But I think ultimately, this is not where we want to be.
Yeah. You got to do the, what's the Dreadmaw? You got to do the Dreadmaw test of I have a 6-drop. It's difficult to evaluate. The Dreadmaw test is how many games does this win that Dreadmaw does not win? And Dreadmaw is just a 6/6 for 6 with trample.
Yeah.
It has to be a really specific game for this 6-drop to win it, but Dreadmaw not to win it. Now think about all the games that Dreadmaw wins that this might not. And
totally.
I think the Dreadmaw takes it on this one. So
I think so too.
It's that's the shortcut for evaluating expensive cards. Is is this better than just a big dumb trampler? Mm-hmm. No. Then it's not that good, because Dreadmaw's a fine card in a lot of formats, but it's not a high pick.
So overrated. No, not a fan.
I'm with you. People probably will see this as a bomb, and it's far from that.
Yes, I agree. Though I do have an underrated card that I think is also, could see some standard play. So I want to talk about it right now, just to be like, hey, I put my stamp on this one before anyone forgets. It's an uncommon, so you can put it into whatever deck that you want. It's so easy. Don't even have to spend anything. This is Accumulate Wisdom.
Good choice.
Not Heartless Act. Gosh. Accumulate Wisdom. It's 1 and a blue for an instant lesson. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of those into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Put each of those cards into your hand instead if there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard. So, I have... This card is 2 mana Ancestral Recall. That's what we're going to call this, right? Because you... Sure. 2 mana, draw 3. If you're in a Devoted Lessons deck. Early on, it's like an Anticipate or whatever. But... The reason that I'm high on this card, not only in in the draft format, I think this is a really strong card. Just can easily do that because there's going to be way more lessons in draft than in standard. But the reason I'm really excited about this card, and the reason I think that you should probably start buying some copies in paper, is because Secrets of Strixhaven is coming out next year. That is going to be a lesson learned set. We already know that we got lessons seated here. There's going to be lessons in that almost assuredly. And this card's going to get way better after that set comes out. And so you want to be able to play this. Yes, we have stock up and we have consult the star charts and everything. But I think this one could also have its own little flavor in the standard format, because you do just get raw cards. You do have to do a build around for it. But I think it will be good enough. And... I like the potential for where this card can go. I don't think it's going to be good enough right now, but I think it will be. Let's talk again in April of next year.
Yeah, the upside is definitely there. That's what my original concern was. Of course, consult the star charts and stock up, both being less restrictive. But just straight up drawing 3 cards is, we've seen in the past. It's hard to compete with that if you can make that work. The only thing is, that does assume that the Strixhaven set is going to have playable cards in it. which, you know,
Okay.
if history is any indicator.
But I would also like to mention history is really good at changing things, right? When the first time things have been a little lackluster, the first time we went to Kamigawa, not, kind of numbers were kind of skewed and it's kind of sucked. Neon Dynasty, though, great return. That was fantastic, right? Ixalan, the first time we went there, there was some stuff, but like I feel like Lost Caverns was a bit more interesting. We do have some nice cards that came from that set as well. So, we have
Ixalan felt a bit down the middle both times, right? They're like, we don't want to rock the boat too much with either of these sets.
I feel like the first time was much sadder as far as like decks were concerned. But like even, I mean, they're good at learning from their mistakes. I guess I'll say that because with the Throne of Eldraine, right, we had way too many cards that had to be banned. Wilds of Eldraine pulled back a little bit, so they do. If they feel like they're going into Strixhaven being like the last time we were on Strixhaven, there were too many double face cards with too many words on them, and the cards weren't strong enough. This time they're going to be like, let's simplify them a little bit and crank it up just a little bit. So. I don't know.
That is fair, and it's not even just like learning from mistakes necessarily, as there's also just a almost a marketing aspect to it of like people think Strixhaven is weak. Mm-hmm. We have to
show them it's not.
Yeah,
and they're going to do that by printing a lot of Magic favorite cards as lessons now. We already saw Rampant
lessons
Growth.
Do feel like a good way
and
to do
Hero.
it.
Yeah.
So they've already sort of reprinted Quench, but now it's a lesson, so that justifies.
Now it's a lesson.
The reprint.
That's three cards that have already been like reprinted as lessons. So I don't know. I think that being a kind of interesting space to be like, if you want to learn about magic and spells, look at all the lesson cards because those are lessons that you're literally learning from Magic's history. If they're taking that approach, we could see some stuff. And maybe even a Lava Axe reprint as a lesson. Ooh, very exciting.
Now I'm convinced with the Lava Axe.
So, because hey...
I thought you were going to say maybe even Ancestral Recall as a lesson. It's like, then we wouldn't need this card.
This card would be pretty bad. No. But anyway, I have high hopes. I have high hopes for this. So,
and I prefer this design to the stock ups and consult the star charts of the world, where it's like you have to do something to get the powerful, like draw spell, not just like have more land. Okay, just be late further on in the game. Like
exactly.
That's not an interesting, clause.
Yeah.
This one is a lot more interesting. I'm just worried that the other two are just so generically powerful. They ask nothing of you that this might get overshadowed a little bit.
Just hoping that like the cheaper mana cost and more cards could do it, even though you can't always get more cards. Obviously, stock up is so good when you're playing like 2-card combo decks where you can draw both of them.
Feeling when the game is relatively even and your opponent just class stock up. It's like, fuck off. Like,
and then they immediately play 2 cards that work perfectly together, and you're like, I wonder where you got those.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. It's just so sick. Anyway, what's your underrated card? What's your sneaky little diamond in the rough?
All right, well, this one was just a card that sort of avoided my notice, to be honest, when I first looked through the set, and then it got posted in our Discord channel, and then when you started talking a little bit about it, and I was like, wait, this is just perfect for some of the decks that I like to play, and it didn't feel like it fit in anywhere else as like the layup. Definitely not 3-pointer. I think maybe I could have used it as a 3-pointer, but I wanted to do the allies thing. And I think it's too good to be the half-court shot. So I was like, you know what? Let's just put it as the underrated card because I blew right by it. And I think it actually could have a place in the metagame. So I think now, because you're on our Discord channel, you know what card I'm talking about. But I am referencing Foggy Swamp Visions, which is 1 black for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, Waterbend X. And then you may exile X target creature cards from graveyards. For each creature card exiled this way, create a token that's a copy of it. And at the beginning of your next end step, sacrifice those tokens. So, this card is actually very, very powerful. 3 mana. I think when I first read it, I thought you had to, like, pay. I didn't understand the difference, I guess, between pay an additional X and Waterbend an additional X. Because I was like, oh, you have to pay 3 plus X. That's huge. But that's not what it's asking you to do. And so the fact that you get to tap creatures and other things is crazy. But basically, this brings back all your creatures from the graveyard. But just for one sort of main... It's almost like for one main phase. Because they're probably... If they have haste, sure, they get to attack. But generally, they don't have haste. And they don't get to block. Like, they go away at the end step. So you need either ETBs or something. You need some way to, like, get value out of these creatures being around. And sort of the obvious thing is aristocrats. Like, what you could do is Waterbend, cast this, tap your team to cast it. And then with it on the stack, you can sack your team, basically. Which in aristocrats, you get value for that. You're either draining your opponent, you're flipping your...
you're like surveilling or drawing cards or doing something.
Right, there's just like... The whole deck is built around sacrificing creatures. And then they all come back and you get to do it all again, as long as you... I mean, like, generally the problem is your one guy is your sack outlet. And so you only have so much space to sack things. But this lets you double or even more than double that, because you might already have things in your graveyard. You might... some of them get sacked twice, etc. So it reminds me of the Rally the Ancestors decks from back in the day, where Rally the Ancestors was basically this, but I think you had to tap X, and X was the number of creatures you got to bring back.
Yes.
But that one was instant speed, so that was also a little different, because you could do it sort of on end step kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this seems better, because it just seems like you could just get to tap your creatures to do it. That's crazy. So, and part of me when I first read it, I think was like, oh, it has to be X power worth of, or like, you know, there's got to be something weird. But it's just, you reanimate X creatures, and it's Waterbend X. Yeah. This is like Court of Calling meets Rally the Ancestors, which is like, you know, the perfect card for aristocrats. So yeah, this one blew right by me, and someone brought it up in the Discord, and then you were like, that seems good in aristocrats, and I was like, it doesn't seem good in aristocrats, it seems fucking great.
Well, what it kind of does is, like, a lot of people play aristocrats with, like, Raise the Past, which is the 4 mana white spell that returns all 2 mana
and I've always hated from your
graveyard.
I cut Raise the Past from my builds.
And I know you don't like that card, so I wasn't sure if you're going to be really into this one or not. But the way that it opens up your deck, where you don't have to build a Lurrus build, basically, where you like want to be able to play cards that have 3 mana value, which is awesome.
Some of the most important cards in this deck are 3 power,
Sephiroth, or 3 mana value. Yeah, some of your aristocrats, some of the things. The other point that's really interesting about this is that it does say exile X target creature cards from graveyards. So if your opponent does have anything in their graveyard that could be useful as far as ETBs go, or you just happen to be low on creatures and you're like flooded, you're like, I guess I can take a couple of yours.
Yeah, why not?
So,
or in the aristocrats mirror matches.
That's true.
Gotta be on the lookout for this card.
So crazy. I really like that approach of it, because then the other approach is like trying to use it as a reanimation thing that like either has a crazy ETB or something that could attack, and or you could give it haste in some way. And I feel like there's more hoops that you have to jump through going that direction than in just the aristocrats build, where you're like, I just want bodies, and I have a ton of bodies already, so I get to waterbend tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if
pretty
you've ever
sweet.
played aristocrats, the general pattern is you play stuff and then you play a blood artist effect, which is either the Sephiroth or the sanguine, whatever the other one, the blood artist,
The blood
and they
witch?
kill it immediately, and then
Yeah.
you're like, shit, now I could do some stuff, but I'm not draining them at the same time. Then you find another blood artist effect, and you play that, and they kill that. And so this is like, I bring back 3 blood artist effects right now. What are you going to do? Because if I sack my team, you're
Exactly.
dead. You're taking 3 or 4 every time.
Yeah. And you can also just be like, hey, you killed all the important creatures, but I'm going to bring back, 2 blood artists and my sack outlet.
Right.
What's happening
Yeah,
here?
because they're like, when you play against this deck, or when you play against aristocrats, it's all about controlling whichever one they didn't draw enough of, because it's like a 2-piece combo. It's like either they can sack their board, but they don't get a payoff for that, or not a meaningful one, or they have like 2 or 3 blood artists, but they have to try to attack you and hope you block to like
Yeah,
like
to get extra
super
damage and
weird.
stuff. It is
And this-
really weird. It's a weird deck to play against, especially if you haven't done it before. But yeah, I'm excited to see what this card can do in that.
Just the
So-
builds are so tight because they've been giving so many blood artists or so many sacrifice like
It's
aristocrats cards recently that I'm wondering what gets cut for this. But
Yeah. Do you play
maybe
4
Anafenza-
copies? Is the
maybe
other question.
finally Anafenza has to go. I think I would start with fewer than 4.
Like
I'd
2?
start with 2, and if I start to win, like
Because
if
of
this
it.
starts to really show, it's because there's bad draws here too, right? Where you're like,
Of
oh,
course.
I needed this to be any creature, and instead it was
Yes.
this.
I mean,
Um,
well, I mean, like, it also is a creature, though. It brings stuff from a graveyard somewhere, so it will be
yeah,
helpful in
there
that
are
sense.
games where nothing has died, right? You're just like, this is a weird
That's
game,
true.
but this card didn't help me out here.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, you could be playing against your opponent. It's like a control deck that's exiling all your stuff. That's
yeah,
true.
it does happen.
Yeah.
Or
rest in peace.
The reality is people play rest in peace.
Yeah. And then you just...
I mean, that already hoses us so hard that
Yeah.
it shuts everything off. That maybe you just lose to rest in peace. But
Maybe just hope that you just dodge that card altogether. But
game 1 for sure, that's what you're hoping, and then your sideboard has to have answers for rest in peace that basically always come in. It's kind of a weird thing that like
yeah.
everyone brings in rest in peace against me, and I always bring in stuff to kill rest in peace.
To kill rest in peace. And that's the plan.
Yeah,
Uh,
because you can't
anyway.
beat it. If it's on the board, your deck is so bad.
Yeah, it just does nothing. Nothing dies. Well, sweet, dude. I think these are all great. I love that we are kind of in the same headspace for a lot of these.
Yeah.
So that's always nice. But yeah, you heard it here first. Buy these cards early or craft them. They'll be great. You'll be happy, and you're gonna have a great time playing Magic.
Except the ones we said were overrated. Don't
That's
buy
true.
those.
Don't buy those ones. But I thought that was fairly self-explanatory. Also, they're mythic, so like whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jeff, are you ready to go to last call? Are you ready to rate this Pilsner beer that we just had and talk about it? Because I sure am.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
let's do it.
Okay, let's go. As always, we rate our beers on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. Just remember that this has nothing to do with what tier you are in currently, because everyone's in different tiers at different times. So don't feel bad when we say that bronze beers, they're trash, they're horrible. You spit them out, you pour them on the ground. They are disgusting.
Silver beers are just boring or bad.
Gold beers are fine, but you wouldn't really drink them again.
And platinum is solid. You would totally drink it again.
Diamond is exceptional. You like these a lot, and you show them off to your friends.
And mythic, these are the best of the best. These are the Badger Mole Cubs of the beer world.
Yeah, baby. Sweet. So, Jeff, How did you pronounce this again? Dreitel?
I said Dreitel.
Dreitel.
I could be wrong. It makes me think of Leon Draisaitl. If there are any
Okay.
Edmonton Oilers fans out there. But,
But what did we think about this Pilsner?
I don't think this beer is as good a Pilsner as Leon Draisaitl is at hockey.
Okay.
Which means I don't think it's the second best beer in the world. It was okay. It wasn't quite what I was expecting. I think it was a little like more carbonated and like more champagne-y than like.
Interesting.
You know, it was like thin and had a lot of bubbles, and maybe that's just because of the way I ended up pouring it.
Yeah, we just kind of poured it that way.
It's not. It doesn't make me think of a Pilsner, but
Not
the
at
thing
all.
it did make me think of is a beer we did years ago, which was like Zane lost his avocado bag or something.
With the champagne yeast.
Which I think was also... It had some sort of ties to New Zealand. It's also called like a New Zealand style beer or something.
I don't remember the New Zealand part, but...
This kind of reminded me of that for whatever reason. And for some reason, I
Interesting.
feel like there was also a New Zealand reference there. Or maybe I'm just going crazy. But this
Maybe.
beer reminded me of that a little bit, where it was like the same kind of thin body with the very, very bubbly carbonation.
Yeah.
And maybe a touch sweet kind of thing, but it wasn't bad, but it just maybe wasn't my style.
It was a lot different than what I was expecting. I was thinking it was going to be a lot easier to drink. It felt like it almost had some pale ale qualities to it that I was not prepared for. Like the cloudiness of it even was just like, this is so different than what I was expecting.
To be fair, I wasn't sure what to expect when it's
That's true.
like Pilsner from Iceland that may or may
Yes.
not be inspired by New Zealand beers. It was just
I was just feeling it was going to be more clean and crisp, and it was not like a good example is that
I wouldn't call it crisp for sure. Like,
Definitely not.
It doesn't meet the like typical Pilsner.
Well, it did feel like it tasted more like the things on the actual can, where there's like ferns and stuff. It reminded me of pine. That's why I'm getting kind of like the pale ale stuff. So I was just very surprised. It felt like there was a lot of flavor, but not flavors that I associate with this style. So maybe I'm just extremely unfamiliar with this New Zealand style or whatever's happening with this. But I honestly don't even know what to do with this. Where do we?
Yeah.
Like, I want to try it again just so I can kind of nail something down, but like, I really don't even know what to say. It's so strange.
Like, I kind of liked it, but then there was stuff I didn't like about it too. I don't know. This was...
Like, I don't know if I would recommend this to anybody, especially not Pilsner drinkers, unless they're very adventurous. And so that's... And then there's a lot of people who like don't drink Pilsners who don't...
drinkers.
Exactly. Pilsner drinkers are not adventurous, and then people that are very adventurous tend not to want to drink Pilsners. So, I don't know.
You know what it might be? This might be like a brewer's beer, because some of the brewers I know go through the, they started
cycle.
with, IPAs, and they got to sours, and they started to appreciate like ambers and browns and whatever. And then as they go through brewing, they come back to the like traditional German styles. And then it's always like, oh, this is the best Pilsner to go get. This is the best, German lager. This is the best like Czech lager. And I'm always like, oh, okay. I guess there are meaningful differences between those different types of lagers. And and so maybe this is kind of like they would appreciate what's being done here.
That's true. It would be really interesting to hear some of our beer brewing friends and what they would think about this beer. So I'd like to have a second opinion, or a third, I guess, because you're our second, or my second at least.
I think for me, I'm just going to give it gold the moment, just because it didn't line up with my expectations. I liked it enough, but not enough to be like psyched. That makes sense.
I do want to try this again, but I don't think it's solid. So I will probably just also give it gold, but like high gold.
Yeah, like
You know, yeah. Like you're scratching the ceiling. You're close.
Yeah, it's like they have one win to get to platinum, and they can't make it happen. They just keep losing that match, and then they win
It's
their way
just like
back
something
to one
going
win
on.
away,
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
like very, very close, but it's just not going to happen. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. Gold for our Pilsner here this evening. So interesting. So cool. Anyway, folks, it's closing time. Time to wrap up the podcast, but you can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Instagram and Blue Sky.
You may also find us on Arena itself under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me personally, I am _Zach on Instagram and TikTok. I'm Regular Zach on YouTube, as well as Twitch and all the different places. Find me there and watch some videos. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is our Discord channel. Come hang out. Tell us about what's been working for you in this new draft format. Tell us what's been working for you in this new standard format, or in any format. We love to hear it. We love to chat. And the best thing about our Discord channel is we do run a monthly Peasant Cube. That means it's only commons and uncommons, everything that's available on Arena, so you get to use up some of those common and uncommon wild cards, or just play with cards that maybe you've collected and you haven't gotten to use in a while. Cube is super fun. It's always changing. It's really well designed. And, yeah, come hang out. Best place to find that, right below the show notes.
That is right. Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Leave us a review there as well. Go to our YouTube channel. Leave a little comment about what you think about the show. Mostly, it means a lot to us. We love to read those. We love to comment and talk with everyone who's enjoying the show. But it also helps us out a little bit, some of that stuff, it's good for the show. Good for the soul, good for the show. Anyway, this has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that if you're going to draft this format, maybe you want to stay Naya? I don't know. Maybe not.
We will have to find out. But good night. All right, that's fine.